Chapter 3. Please, son, get off the floor and come sit in this chair. Dad? Michael opened his eyes and looked into the face of a familiar man, but as his eyes began to focus, he could tell the man was clearly not his father. He was a small, older man whose neatly combed, almost white hair contrasted with the untidy appearance of his clothes. The sleeves of his dress shirt were rolled up at the elbows, and his red and black striped tie was loosened at the collar. A pair of small, round but Coke bottle-thick spectacles were perched on his nose, making his clear blue eyes seem huge. "Your arrival is quite an inconvenience," the man said. "So, what's new?" Michael mumbled. "Excuse me?" The man looked over the top of his spectacles at Michael. "Nothing." "Good. Just sit in that chair and be very quiet." Turning quickly, he walked toward a huge hand-carved desk. Settling himself behind it and picking up a stack of papers, he grumbled, "As if I don't have enough happenings right now." Trying to get a grip on his surroundings, Michael looked around. He was sitting on a big, expensive-looking rug, and his back was against the wall of a fancy, high-ceilinged room. To his left was the hard-backed chair that had been pointed to by the man who was now busily sorting papers across the room. To his right, a globe stood on a pedestal in front of the unlit fireplace. Easing up and into the chair, Michael said, "I'm so thirsty." Without looking up, the man replied, "I'll get you something in a bit. For now, please be quiet." Unable to contain the question any longer, Michael asked, "So, where am I?" "Look here now." The man slammed the stack of papers down on a desk and pointed his finger at Michael. "I asked you nicely to be quiet, and I'm expecting you to do it. You are in Potsdam, Germany, a suburb of Berlin, in a free zone presently controlled by the Red Army. It is Tuesday, July 24th, 1945. The man took a deep breath, appearing to be calmed down, and reached for his work again. Filing through the papers, he said, "There now. Sit and chew on that for a while." Michael propped his elbows on his knees and dropped his head in his hands. "I must be in the hospital. That's where they send kids who try to drive their cars off embankments. A psychiatric hospital." Michael looked over to the man at the desk. "And who is he? My doctor? If so, he needs to work on his bedside manner. But Germany? Why would he say that? And the Red Army? Maybe he's as cuckoo as I am." Unzipping his pullover, Michael realized he was starting to sweat. He noticed a water pitcher and some glasses on a small table near the window and walked slowly toward it. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the man look up, frown, and go back to his work. Michael tried to pour the water and drink it quietly. He looked out the window and realized he was on the second floor of this building, wherever it was. Below him was the bank of a slow-moving river, but there were no families boating, no children swimming. In fact, as he looked around, he saw no one at all. "What's up with that?" Michael muttered as a breeze warmed his face. Warm air, he thought. It was pretty chilly when I left the restaurant a few minutes ago. Then it hit him. Not only was the outside air warm, but every tree was full of leaves, and the grass below him was green. All the trees he had passed on the road had been gold or red. Now they were suddenly green again. Something is seriously wrong here. Michael stuck his head out the window. "Ooh, it is hot," he decided. "So why are all the windows open anyway? The air conditioning should be running full blast." Walking toward his seat, Michael scanned the walls for a thermostat. He didn't see one. The only thing he saw was an old heater that someone had stuck in the fireplace. Not that that old thing would do anyone any good, he thought. It's so old it looks like it would have been made in... Michael stopped. He whispered aloud, "The 1940s. He stood up suddenly and faced the man behind the desk. This white-haired man looked up and slowly pushed his work to the side. A slight smile on his thin lips, he leaned back into the chair, crossed his arms, and peered curiously at Michael. Michael's mind raced. Potsdam. Why does that weird name sound so familiar? I've never been to Germany, and I've certainly never been to Potsdam. Wait, Potsdam? He suddenly remembered that just weeks before in American history, Miss Collins had gone on and on about Potsdam, the site of some war conference. After the conference, they had made the decision to drop the atomic bomb on Japan. That was during World War II. A sudden case of the chills ran through Michael's body, as he remembered the president who had attended that conference, and the black and white photo in the history book. He sat down hard and tried to catch his breath. You're President Truman." "Yes," the man said, "I am, although at the moment I would give anything to be almost anyone else." "I can't believe this. We were just studying you. You're known for giving people a hard time," Michael added. Truman grimaced. "I never give anyone a hard time. I just tell the truth, and they think it's a hard time." Removing his glasses, he rubbed his eyes and said, "Obviously, I'll not be getting any peace from this point on, so we might as well go ahead and talk. Putting his glasses back on, he rose and came out from behind the desk. By the way, he said, why not you? Sir? Michael was confused by the vague question. Why not you? Looking into Michael's eyes, Truman enunciated the words carefully, as if he were speaking to a child. I believe that is the last question you asked before you arrived. Michael frowned, trying to remember. I was in an accident, I think. Yes, Truman said. That's sometimes how this happens. And the last question a person asks is often, why me? Of course, why me is a question great men and women have been asking themselves since time began. I know the thought has occurred to me more than once during the past few days. What's your name, son? Michael Holder. Am I okay? Well, Michael Holder, if you mean, am I dead, the answer is no. If you simply mean, am I okay, Truman shrugged, I'm not sure. I'd never given any information on how these things turn out. Suddenly, Michael relaxed. He smiled and nodded his head. I get it. I'm dreaming, right? Maybe you are, the president said. But, Michael, I'm not. And if you are dreaming, that's not a problem. For centuries, dreams have been used to communicate instruction and direction to people of purpose. Great men and women. God used dreams to prepare Joseph for his future as a leader of nations. He gave battle plans to Gideon in a dream. Joan of Arc, Jacob, George Washington, Marie Curie, and the Apostle Paul were all guided by dreams. But I'm nowhere near a great man, Michael said. I've done nothing like any of those people you've mentioned. I've messed everything up. I'm certainly no Apostle Paul. I'm not even sure I believe in God anymore. Truman smiled and put a hand on Michael's shoulder. That's all right, son, he said. He believes in you. How do you know that, Michael asked. Because, Truman answered, looking directly at Michael. You wouldn't be in here if he didn't. Sometimes someone is chosen to travel the ages, gathering wisdom for future generations. It's as if God literally reaches down and places his hand on a shoulder. And in this case, the president peered over his glasses. It was your shoulder. A sharp knock at the door interrupted them. Without waiting for a response, a stocky man strode into the room. I'm sorry to barge in, sir, he said, his eyes surveying the room. I thought I heard you talking to someone. No, Fred, Truman said as he looked directly at Michael. No one here. Then, motioning toward the door with his hand, he said, Will you see that I'm not disturbed? Of course, Mr. President, Fred said as he slowly backed out, a concerned look on his face. Still looking around, he added, I'll be escorting you to the conference room within the hour, but if you need me before then, you'll be right outside, Truman said as he ushered the confused man from the room, and I won't hesitate to call it for you. Thank you, Fred. When the president closed the door, Michael asked, He can't see me? Apparently no one can, Truman replied. No one that is except the person you came to visit. Of course, that makes me look a little crazy, he said with a grin. In here, all alone, talking to myself. Fred Canfield is my special bodyguard. He's temporarily assigned to the Secret Service, and I've grown rather fond of him. He must think the stress has finally gotten to me. Quickly, he wiped the grin off his face and continued, but I don't understand why anyone would find it strange. I have ample reason to be talking to myself with everything that's going on here. Truman cocked his head and looked at Michael from the corner of his eye. It is curious how you people always seem to show up during critical points in my life. This has happened to you before? Michael asked. Yes, Truman said. The first time was the night Roosevelt died. I was alone in the Oval Office, and a young man about your age appeared from nowhere. Fred came busting through the door. Almost gave me a heart attack. It was strange that no one could see the boy but me. So, what did he want? He was having trouble deciding whether or not to finish college. Michael couldn't believe it. That's not a big enough problem for the President of the United States. What are you here for? Truman asked. Michael shrugged his shoulders and looked down at the floor. I don't know. I really don't know. Well, the president said, as he moved across the room, at least that young man had a question. So what did you tell him to do? Michael asked. I didn't tell him to do anything, Truman replied. That's not my part in this. I offer my point of view. The ultimate outcome of anyone's life is a matter of personal choice. The president continued. I was evidently his second visit. He had just spent an hour or so with Albert Einstein. Wait, Michael looked up. I'll be going somewhere else after this? Yes, you will, Truman answered. Several different places, actually, but don't worry. They'll be expecting you. So, you knew I was coming. I was informed in a dream the other evening, Truman said. He walked behind his desk and opened the right top drawer. Removing a folded piece of paper, he handed it to Michael and said, I was instructed to prepare this for you. This is why you were here. It is one of the decisions for success. You will receive 7 of them. Keep it with you, and read it twice daily until it is committed to your heart. For only by committing this principle to your heart will you be able to share its value with others." Michael carefully began to unfold the page. "No, wait," the president said as he put his hands over Michael's. "Don't read it yet. You must wait until our meeting is finished. After you read those words, you will immediately travel to your next destination. Amazing, actually. You read the last word and bang, you're gone." Michael reached over and started spinning the globe, stopping it on the United States. "Do you know my future?" he asked. "Nope," Sherman said. "Can't help you there, and I wouldn't if I could. Your future is what you decide it will be. Now you, on the other hand, could probably tell me mine." Michael opened his mouth to speak, but the president held out his hands as if to ward off the words. "Thanks, but no thanks. God knows. There are enough influences coming to bear without you telling me what I already did." "Let me get this straight now. You say that my future is what I decide it will be," Michael began. "I don't know about that. I certainly didn't decide to be in the situation I am now. I've been a good friend, a pretty good son, a dedicated team player, and a decent student. But now my 3 best friends probably hate me. My parents don't trust me. My dad's really sick, and I'm off the track team, which means I won't get the scholarship I need to go to college. Michael, we're all in situations of our own choosing. Even with the things we can't control, we have a choice in how we react. Our thinking creates a path to either success or failure. However, by not taking responsibility for our present, we crush the possibility of an incredible future that might have been ours.